Welcome everybody back to Boost Motion, guys, and today I want to talk about it. Is Nissan slash Infiniti turning their back on the new or old VR30 twin turbo motor? Guys, let's jump into the video. First thing, shout out to my whole Boost Motion family. Much love. I appreciate you guys for your support. And the reason why I'm talking about this topic today is Daily Q50. Yes, the guy with the first 1,000 wheel horsepower Q50 brought up a pretty good question, and it got me thinking and talking about it, and it got a bunch of people talking about it in the Infiniti Q50 Q60 group on Facebook and on Instagram. So if you guys don't know, Nissan is partnering with a fellow YouTuber slash influencer. Her name is Emily Hartford. This girl right here, pretty girl. And pretty much they're working on a project where they're going to be swapping a VR30, stock VR30 GTR motor into a new Nissan Z. That's what they're going to be doing, and wherever else they choose to get themselves into, right? I'm just taking a quick look at her. Don't judge me, guys. Just checking her out, if you know what I mean. But but Daily Q50 posed a good question, right? And I give him this. So let's jump into what he chooses to say. I want to move this out a little bit so you guys see it a little bit better. All right. So Nissan's partnering with Emily Hartford on a Drag Z build, but she will not be using the original VR30 that the car came with. Instead, she'll be running a VR30 swap. If you ask me, this just shows you how Nissan does not want to back their power plant, and they just put it in the newest sports cars. Us VR30 owners have been sidelined for too long by Nissan while trying to do it on our own. Please go to her post. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna read some of the comments a little bit later because it's interesting. But I want to give you guys my honest opinion on what Daily Q50 say. I want to say I support him. I support Daily Q50 in his qualms. I understand why he's frustrated because number one is a lot of money, time, and R&D that went into it. There's a lot of big companies such as AMS, even Motorsports, who have to fulfill that gap. But I will disagree by saying this. Nissan don't want to spend any money on making that car faster. They don't care about it. If you have to sit there and think about it, all the money and time that went into developing the VR38 motor for the GTR did pay back. It made a godly car that's still discontinued, and it's still godly to the point that we're going to swap a VR38 into the Nissan Z, right? Nissan knows that the VR30 was just supposed to be your bare bones twin turbo motor. They didn't put a lot of time and energy into making this car a very efficient car. Let's be quite honest for the people that's watching. If you have a VR30 and runs really good and it's higher mileage, you are pretty much the majority. But I could say a large minority, I don't mean percent of a percent, large minority of people, especially in this community, our community, have issues with the VR30. Period. And I want to use a quick example, right? If you look at the B58, yes, BMW talk, right? When you look at the B58, they designed it two different ways. One where it has integrated exhaust manifold, very much like the VR30, right? They call them two-port motors, which are very similar to ours, two ports. But then they sat there and said the more efficient one, the six-port motors, does not have an integrated exhaust manifold because they know that the more boost, the most power, it'll be more reliable with the six-port. Now, I'm not saying that the two-port still isn't reliable depending on how good the head flows. But in all actuality, there's so much things that we're not using the VR30 to make it reliable over time that we're sitting there thinking about damn, getting a high mileage VR30 is actually sketchy. I hate to say it on video. I like the VR30 guys. I had two of them, right? But my Q50 had a leaking turbo, and my Q60, well, I was a second owner, but I didn't have it long enough and drive it long enough to know if it would ever have any issues. But everybody I ever known who had a VR30 for long enough had an issue. Something with the motor, injector, coolant issue. It's too common for the community, right? And Nissan made this motor to be an economic twin turbo motor that they just threw in there and have warranty. But honestly, I'm actually a bit afraid now, even though it's been 8 years, that these cars, the issues are too common, man. It's too common, and I don't think anybody else is saying it in the community because they don't want to seem like they're hating. Especially, I know I'm the guy on the outside. It's like, oh, Boost used to be part of it. Now you're gonna talk down about it. But go to the Q50 Q60 group. It's too common that every day you'll see 2 to 3, 4 people sitting there saying they have an issue with their VR30 motor, And that's just our community. Imagine the people outside that's not even on these forums. And I remember I used to get so much emails, which I still actually do get emails and text messages of people having issues. And I'm like, damn, it's still going. And it's sad because I love Nissan Infinity. So no, Daily Q50, they're not gonna back their motor because it's supposed to be just a run-of-the-mill twin turbo motor. They didn't want to put much any energy and time for it to even be better. I'll even add this part too with you, Daily Q50. Anyone else watching? If they cared so much about their VR30, why didn't they upgraded it? Guess what? They did. They made a VR35. Yes, the newer VR30 is supposed to be a VR35, which is going into the Nissan, I believe, the bigger Armada, if they are going to make a Nissan Armada, or an Infiniti QX80, because they're getting rid of the 5.6 V8 motor, and now they're going to use that. So they just probably, we're assuming if it is the same VR30, this is all assumption, if it's the same VR34, technically very similar, all they did was just add bigger displacement. And I'm assuming different turbo or turbos, right? Which we're still waiting to see what that motor actually is, a breakdown of it. I didn't see any patents for it. I actually didn't look it up, but usually that stuff usually comes across my table because you guys are super nosy. They're like, yo, they're coming out with this new motor. Look at the patent. They didn't even get any emails about that from a long time ago. But they were talking about replacing the 5.6 motor ever since we're in 2024, since 2022, 2021. They've been talking about this. And they finally did it. So it's not like we didn't know. We just didn't know they would increase the displacement. That lets you know. So rather than make the motor better and more refined, they thought about packaging and they thought about, we want this to be in a heavier truck. The VR30 is not going to be able to do it, even though it's been out for 7 to 8 years. So they said, you know what? Let's pick out. We need something with a larger displacement because we need more additional torque for towing capacity. And they linked it up with a 9-speed transmission. So if they really wanted to, honestly, I think it's just pretty much a gimmick. They just went with the motor that they know is already out there. That was probably their idea to do it together, and it makes good additional content for Nissan and for her. A GTR 2000, 1000, 1500 horsepower, whatever, or even stock VR38 tune Nissan Z. It's cool. You know, I think that's pretty cool, and they're going to get it done. You know, we'll see what it turns into. We'll see what it looks like, because the headway for them throwing a bunch of money, right, at the GTR motor, they know it's proven. They know that they can have a 600 horsepower GTR to a 2,000 horsepower GTR overnight because the resources are there, the companies are there. But for Nissan to say, hey, let's put this a 2,000 or 1,000 horsepower VR30, I mean, yes, they could probably go to AMS, but there's still not enough of those rolling around to see if it'll be cost effective and how much is this really going to cost. I mean, it's not as simple as Nissan pretty much calling somebody in the factory and calling the engineers and saying, hey, we need to have stronger rods, stronger pistons. Like the amount of people from whoever makes that call to who actually designs it on the CAD or 3D printing to actually put in engineering and actually put it on the assembly line and make them, it's astronomical amount of people. So it's just too much. The VR38 is there, it's built. We can go to any one of these companies. We know the price. We know what's gonna do. That's it. So I do agree with him. They're not standing behind it, and honestly they're not. Now on the other end, just shut up. Not you, Daily Q50, but then just shut up about it. In a sense, this is what people. It's not towards you, Daily Q50, or anybody, but just shut up about it and just go out there and you gotta do what you gotta do. That's how it is with any platform, right? We could sit there and, you know, one of the biggest complaints over the years was that the B58 got more respect and love because the Nissan Z. And it's truthful. It definitely did. Once the Nissan Z came out, a lot of parts came out for the Nissan. I mean, not the Nissan Z, sorry. The Toyota Supra. Once the Toyota Supra came out, it got that B58 got so much more love, so much more respect, right? And look what it's doing now, right? I even got a B58. Yes, I know. I don't put it on the channel because I got a 7 Series, guys. I got a freaking 7 Series. So it's not a performance car, but it's super freaking reliable and gets great gas mileage. I'm telling you. But this is Nissan dropping the ball. And I think Nissan is stuck in its identity. It doesn't know what to do anymore. If you look at other auto manufacturers, they understand the driveline. They'll have the smaller, more economical motors on one, let's say, platform, and then they'll have a more performance-oriented or powerful motor depending on what it is. So let's just use BMW, right? The fact that you can go to a 7 Series, right? Let's use a 7 Series. You can get a B58 in a 740. Then, if you want a little bit more power, you get the 750 with the twin turbo and 63. And then up until recently, you could get a 760, right, with the twin turbo 12. The newer V8s now are going to get, they're actually going to get the M version, the S of 68 motor. I believe it's the S68 motor they're getting, right? A V8 motor. So it's like you understand that there's different levels, and they just put it in that package. If you look at what Infiniti and Nissan doing, they don't know what the frick they're doing. Some cars still have a CVT. Other cars have now the 9-speed. They're finally getting rid of the VQ35. VQ35, that's aging out soon. I don't know if I put a video up talking about that. So they're going to be cutting that completely. No more VQ35. That's going to be gone, right? And then they put the VQ35 in the QX60. They could have put the VR30 in the QX60 truck. They could have done that. It was an Infiniti model. They still made it. There's no more Q60, and pretty much it should be no more Q50s. But they could have put it in there, but they chose not to. You want to know why, guys? You want to know why they didn't put the VR30 in the QX60 Infiniti truck? Because it should have been in there, because they've done it when all the other manufacturers do this, because they don't trust the VR30. That's it. That is all. I don't think it's anything with packaging. They said, yo, we are going to go with what's the most reliable because we don't want to deal with the issues. That's it. That's how you keep their cars running. And that's why they went with what they went through. Now, they made the new VR35. We got to see how reliable that is in the larger trucks. That may have its own plagues, or maybe they learned from the VR30. Maybe they'll make a new revised version this second time around. Maybe the Nissan Z had got slightly different part number, but from what we know, it's not really different. Maybe they'll revise it and make the motor a little bit better. And from whatever they learned from the last 8 years with the Q50, because as those warranties come to an end, because if someone buys a Q50 in 2024, that warranty is going to go like 2029, 2028. So they're going to still be servicing those cars all the way to 2028. By that time, they may not have the VR30s anymore. Or maybe there'll be a version 2 for 2025. Or maybe the new VR35 is the new VR30 moving forward. We don't know. We got to wait and see. I mean, I don't see them really doing that because that would be more gas and not as good gas mileage. I don't think they would do that. That would usually going up displacement will yield worse gas mileage. So I doubt that. But we got to wait and see. Maybe the new VR35 is going to be in a lot of their different vehicles. Maybe they'll come out with their newer Q70, the large sedan, and they'll put the VR35 in there. Maybe the newer QX60, because they're scrapping the D, then they choose to put the VR35 in because it's a truck. We got to wait and see, man. But all in all, I do agree with you, Daily Q50. I understand they're not really standing by it. I really wish they would. But I will also put this out here. Man, listen, it is what it is, bro. It is what it is, and that's just the tough part about it. And at the end of the day, that was their call. That's what they're doing, and it is what it is. I mean, the other Q50, if you had put it out there. If you had 100,000, 500,000, a million followers, subscribers to the different platforms, and you get all these bunch of eyes, yeah, Nissan might have taken that on. They might be like, oh, this guy has a lot of people that's following him. You know who would have got a lot of love on this? Stradman. If Stradman had a Nissan Z and was like, I want to build 1,000 horsepower Nissan Z or whatever, then it would have been him. Or TJ Hunt. One or two of those people. Chris Fork, I get it, but one of those other two guys too, maybe. They might have done it, but they would have to say, listen, I want to do it. But then the engineers might have just sat there and said, we don't really have enough resources. We have the money, but we have to develop so much new stuff just for it to be there reliable. It's just too expensive. Rather than just buy a GTR motor from wherever it is or send you one that we just have lying around and boom, we just go to work, But outside of that, guys, you have a good morning. Wait, matter of fact, I told you going to read through some of the comments. Can't do that to y'all. The other question is, who is that? Never heard of her in the Nissan Z community. A lot of Z/Q people that would probably do a better job building a drag Z. I completely agree. Let's see. Maybe they're shooting for big power numbers. I don't know. Got to be a reason if the VR38 and don't exceed 1,000 horsepower. Then it'll be sad and definitely would have rather seen them try with a VR30. I mean, yeah, but they don't want to try the VR30 and then they fail. They don't want to do that. She might as well LS or what is it, ILT swap the motherfucker. Yeah, I can't curse. I'm sorry. Make it the way it is. 1 second. And okay, no crazy comments there. And let's see what the comments are for this one. Mr. Infinity says, it's always a pleasure to watch your content. I do got to say, though, I can't agree with Nissan Z's decision utilizing the VR38 platform in the shell of the Nissan Z for the drag build. It doesn't seem right considering the VR30 is one of their latest additions to Nissan Infinity line. Shouldn't they be pushing using that platform if they are confident enough in the release? Okay, let me see a couple. There's a couple of people too. Team VR30 comment says, so Nissan basically is just saying, screw the VR30 at this point. Don't understand the point of releasing a car with a VR30 and then having people push a platform swap of VR38 in it. This is why the sales are down. That's not really why the sales are down, Team VR30. That's not truthful. The sales are down because Nissan cars are boring. They're not. Listen, the Nissan Z would have been much better if they would have made sure their dealerships didn't charge $15,000 to $20,000 over the price. The fact that you could have bought a Nissan Z for $40,000 from factory almost 2 years ago would have been amazing. But because there was markups, because there was a shortage, they were charging $65,000 to $70,000 for a $40,000 car. Now the prices are still $45,000 to $50,000 for the car, because it took 2 years for the prices to go back down. So you have old cars selling for what they are at MSRP. People are smart with their money, especially with interest rates up. All right, Nissan is not pushing. Turbo P says, not pushing VR30. We're struggling to make good power while they got influencers pushing VR38 in the Nissan scene. Might as well have put the VR38 in a Z or a Q if that was the case. Okay. I mean, Turbo P, you know they're not going to do that. They did put the VR38 in a Q50 a long time ago, remember? And they just chose not to do it because it would be probably quite expensive. Soccer Mom, shout out to you, Soccer Mom Sleeper. I don't understand why would you put a VR30 in a Z. Is the VR30 not compatible with supporting a drag Z build? Why not build a drag GTR if you want the VR38? But then there's plenty of drag GTRs, which we already know. If Nissan wants a drag Z in the spotlight, they should approve the engine that comes in a production car to be sufficient for drag build. I completely agree with you. Body and Clyde also comments and says, guys, keep up the good work. We are excited to see the monster in action. This will be one sick build. Guys on the VR30 Pub need to stop crying about this and put their heads down and start working with companies that won't sell the OTS parts and help development further. It's your fault the VR30 is underdeveloped, not Nissan's. Nissan is not responsible for the VR38 progress. That comes down to the companies. And then he tagged T1 Race, Workhorse Performance, PP Brand, Boosting Performance, and Lenny Tuning, etc. that spend excessive money and time in development. Guys, keep up the good work. Okay, I know there's a whole beef with Bonnie and Clyde, so he's going to come from a slightly different area. Shout out to this post has gone so sideways. If you're a VR30 fan and you want to see full compatibilities of the motor, then go ahead and do it. To be hypercritical of Nissan or an influencer is crazy. Her job is to do wild builds, and she's doing just that. Having Nissan support is a dream, and she built herself up to be noticed by a manufacturer. There should be a ton of support and praise on this. I completely agree with you. I was the first person outside Nissan and Z1 to swap a VR30 into their car and absolutely love that engine. Would I be mad? Would I be mad because people pulled out the VR38? Hell no. I do the same thing if I had the backing, and the most of you would. Doubling down. You want to see what the VR30 can do? Then go do it. Don't wait on someone else. And I'll drop the mic right on that one, brother. Shout out to you, man. Because if you guys don't know, One Media, he was Nowhere TM. That used to be his, I think his old YouTube. He'll probably comment below if he does watch this video. Let me just click off this and just finish off my last statements, because this statement was actually quite long. All right. So to finish off my last statements, he dropped the mic on that one, right? And that's exactly what people have been doing in the community. Over the years, from the inception of it, people, different companies were making out different parts and trying new things. Including AMS is one of the top companies that have went out and made a lot of great fitment parts and R&D behind it. And even from their standpoint, they waited till there was enough of a need to make a new part or bring out new parts out there, because what's to spend a bunch of money on something that may not sell? It makes sense. I completely agree with that one. And I would also add to Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie and Clyde was one of the only companies that came out with an air-to-air kit and a couple of other unique parts that other manufacturers don't choose to care about. I do find it quite funny, not towards Bonnie and Clyde or to anybody, that there's other, I would say other parts that are used outside of Nissan Infiniti that are used commonly with other companies, like port injection. Port injection is very common with outside of Nissan Infiniti. Out of VR30s. Very common, right? Another thing, meth kits are very, very common outside of the VR30 community. But like in this community, they're not big. They're not big in this community. It's like oh, you don't do that. Like that's just not what we do. But then you go to B58s, port. Meth. You go to LS guys, meth. Like there's so much other companies doing this stuff already, and it's like you want to bring that technical firmware, not firmware, technical hardware over here, and it's like, no, that's never gonna work. Well, it's an engine, it has gasoline, it has air, and it has a spark, and it goes boom, right? They have cylinders, they're very similar, just a different motor. So let's try this out. So that's why I get why other companies try out new things. So that's why I did back Bonnie and Clyde in the past about a lot of things, because it's like you got to think outside the box. Now we know air-to-air should be more of a staple. We're just waiting for a big company to make an OEM fitment air-to-air kit. That's it. Once they do that, then more people would be like, oh, air-to-air is just the staple now. Air-to-air is definitely a staple. You see what I'm trying to say? Like, it's going to become a staple because, like, boom. Now we have a kit for somebody who made a clean kit, right? So, man, this is being in this platform so long and seeing it is frustrating. I understand where Daily Q50 is coming from. It does feel like a smack in the face, but I'm just thinking about what are they supposed to do to the manufacturer. So that's why I kind of understand what Nowhere is saying, because it's like, you're looking at what he's saying. Oh, Raymond. Look at what you're saying. I'm just like, yo, if you want a fast Q50, go make one. You're going to have to think outside the box. Period. That's it. I have yet to see anybody single turbo a VR30. Oh, my God, that will be useless. It'll be a waste of time. Right? But then let's just go look at it and see what the VQ guys are doing. They have single turbo kits. They have a reverse Y, or a Y that comes around and swaps to a single turbo kit. It works on them, but it'll be very complex. It'll be hard to do. But plenty of other platforms have done this already. That come with two turbos that go down to a single turbo. Just because GTRs don't want to have a single big turbo doesn't mean that VR30s might not be able to do it. Might not have that. There's probably not enough space for it, right? Or somebody might want to put turbos that sit above the engine. Or top engine turbos, top mount turbos, because we have bottom mounts, but nobody had done anything crazy. I'm talking about crazy drag designs that make top mount turbos that come up and sit where the airbox is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a drag car, so it doesn't really matter the location, right? You got to design an exhaust manifold that comes from up and runs up. Boom, pop it there, and exhaust either goes out the hood or it goes straight back, all the way back, and then you heat wrap it, whatever you got to do. It could happen. But it's all about space, whatever. In the VQ guys game, single turbo in the engine bay wasn't really a big thing. Mid-mount turbos was a pretty good thing. It's like, okay, look at the space where it is. And another big thing, RMT turbos, single turbo. A rear-mounted turbo kit on VQs. Oh, my God. Why would anybody do that? But a lot of people have done it. But it just didn't catch on enough because no company really came out there and made enough rear mounted turbo kits, or it never caught enough amount of eyes. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, even though from the cost of installation will be a lot less expensive because it's rear mount. You don't have to drop a motor. You save so much money on labor and other issues that may come up because you have to drop a motor. You see what I'm saying? You know, it all depends on application. I get it. I get it. I'm just ranting at this point. I'm just saying some of the ideas. I'm saying some of the things that I see in other platforms. And there's things that work very great in other platforms that will work great over here. And as he said, just go out and do it. Go out and create it. Somebody could become the first single turbo VR30 Q50 watching my video right now. They might go out there and say, you know what, Boost? I want to go make a single turbo VR30. And they could probably go get it done. All they need is a good welder who have their time, mock it up, and just take their time and do it as it go, and they build it. And it might make a hell of a lot of power because there's only so much big turbos you could put down there, depending on the spool. Oh, my God, it'll be a terrible amount of spool. I mean, that's not what they're looking for. They want top-end power. Push it out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how you make the crazy amount of power. That's how you get 800 wheel horsepower on a stock VR30 because you got to go with the biggest turbos that can flow the most amount of air. And, you hope that bitch hold together. All right, let me stop talking, man. I should have made this like a little podcast or something. But I really appreciate you guys for your support. Much love. Thank you, Daily Q, for bringing up this as a topic. I think it was actually well worth it talking about it. And you guys comment below. Tell me what you think. Is Nissan Infiniti pretty much turning back on a Nissan on a VR30? So, guys, I appreciate it. You already know what to do. Add me at boostinmotion on IG. Thank you, guys.